And speaking of movies that may or may not be mixed, we've got Tanner's Pick of the Week. And by Tanner's Pick of the Week, I mean Nico's Pick of the Week. That being the 2023 film, The Iron Claw.
That's right, The Iron Claw. This is a film just depicting the horrid, tragic lives of the Von Elric brothers, wrestlers who are trying to chase their father's fame and unfortunately meet grave demises in doing so.
So, fun fact, as you guys probably surmised by the ending, this is based on a true story. However, in real life, there was another brother, Chris Von Elric, who also killed himself that they decided to not include at all because the director decided that was actually too far to be believable in a movie.
It would have just been too sad. It probably would have been like a little redundant too. It's like, well, we're just gonna keep having brothers kill themselves for a while.
I feel like
here.
it's now. Don't hear what I'm not saying, but if it's based on a true story, I feel like it's justifiable because then it's like it has.
Well, they're still trying to make a good movie.
I mean, I guess so. I can't be mad at you.
One of the other big differences I saw in an interview with the surviving Von Elric is he was like, "Well, my dad wasn't that bad."
Oh,
Gotcha.
But hey, we're making a film here. We need an antagonist.
Yeah. Dylan, what'd you rank this one?
B+.
Respectable. Pretty respectable. Tanner, how about you?
Dude, I fucking love this movie. I'm at an S.
Hot damn.
Doesn't fucking surprise me at all. When Jackson was introducing this movie, I forgot that it was Nico's pick. I would have for sure assumed this was Tanner's pick for the week.
It's so Tanner core, man. I picked the perfect movie for the guy. Jackson, where'd you put it?
I'm currently sitting at an A-.
There we go. Fantastic. I'm also at an A-. All right, guys. Show of hands. Who cried because of this film?
Dude, I did. I actually did. It's insane.
I think I was looking for reasons to cry, but I don't think it hit me then.
3 out of 4 of us are elder brothers, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that really helps for me.
Raises paw. I did as well.
Yeah.
I don't think I cried, but also it's been a while since we watched this, so maybe I'm misremembering. Also, I'm sure that also wasn't helped by the fact I'm not super close with my family.
Fair.
Fair. Nico, what part did you cry at?
It was 2 separate sections. It was when when all the brothers were like in the afterlife hugging each other and stuff. And then it was
that was for me as well.
Yeah, and then it was at the very end when it was like the shot of him like looking at his sons and he was crying.
I think for me it'd probably be a more valid assertion to say I had a flood of emotions. I don't think I had physical tears.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead. So my big positives is I really like this movie for its themes and its messaging, but especially that it's fairly subtle about a lot of that. I think it lets you read into the emotions of the characters and sort of what's going on in their minds. I don't think it spells everything out for you. Obviously, it had a lot of resonance for me as an elder brother and just kind of imagining me going through this situation and whatever. The performances were fantastic pretty much across the board. I thought it was a really engaging story. And then my more jokey positive is the physiques. The main Von Elric, holy fuck, dude. Oh my god.
Zac Efron, you mean?
Sure.
What do you mean sure? That's his name.
You know, the problem there, though, Tanner, is that maybe one of my biggest negatives for this film is that while, like, the acting was good, just, like, the brothers, they just felt a bit miscast. They, basically all of them felt way too old for how old they were supposed to be in this film. Like, especially Zac Efron. He looks like he's fucking 40. And they don't, like, age him up or anything like that, like, even with, like, the time skips or whatever. He just always looks like that.
That's valid.
Yeah. Maybe that's why they gave him such stupid haircuts to make him look younger.
Yeah.
Interesting.
My big negative for this movie was the ending.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is that it had 4 endings.
It didn't know where the fuck it wanted to end.
Over and over again.
Even with the ending we got, I do have problems with it because, you know, I said that scene did make me cry. However, Here's the thing. It had a chance of doing something really powerful there at the end. So, like Tanner was saying, you can definitely read how these characters are feeling, and that's especially shown in that scene in particular. Because we see this shot where it's just like his son's playing in this big, massive yard, and it's him just off in the distance alone, just crying to himself. Because it's like, it really feels like in that moment is when he realizes that, like, you know, from the very beginning of the film, we hear that the only thing he cares about are his brothers. Like, that's his main deal. He just loves his brothers so fucking much. And he's realizing here at the end that, like, he's the only one left. He's the only brother who fucking made it. And that, like, this life he wanted, like, you know, just, like, living with his brothers on, like, their big house and all that stuff. Like, their kids all growing up together, like, playing in that big old yard that just has his. It's fucking heartbreaking. It is unfortunately undercut severely by the bad child actors walking up to him and say, "Whoop, but your brother, daddy," and then they go play. It's sad. I hate it.
That also reminds me, another piece of like real life tragedy that they cut out of the film is that I think it was 2 of the Von Elrichs were married with children when they killed themselves.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that probably would be a bit much. I will say a line that resonated with me, it was that scene that you were describing, Nico, where it's kind of like words have power moment, where it's like, oh, well, I used to be a brother. And that's such a weird thing to hear out loud, because when you hear about siblings, and especially when he had so many, like, you don't ever really expect to stop being a brother or a sister, especially, like, if you have 1 or 2, maybe, but, like, knowing he had 4 brothers, and he's like, oh, I used to be a brother, for some reason that line resonated a lot with me, and it kind of made me realize a little bit more the gravity of the entire story.
Well, that was especially heart-wrenching because, as we see, like, from him and his later wife's, like, first date, he's talking about how, like, oh, yeah, I'm actually not the oldest brother, though, you know, like, my oldest brother, he died when he was a kid or whatever, and it's like, at that point, he acknowledges that, like, yeah, even, like, in death, we're still brothers, but, like, yeah, in that final scene when they're all gone, it's when he just feels completely alone, and, like, he just doesn't have them anymore,
I will say, I'd say my biggest negative for this movie is it is such, at least to me, such an incredibly slow burn. It was having a hard time keeping my attention personally. I'm sure this is, you know, wasn't an issue with you guys. It was just like there wasn't enough going on, and it just felt like there was so much time between everything that was happening. And just some, like, unbelievable moments, but, like, again, it's a movie based on a true story. But, like, the brother who went on and had a head-on collision with a car on a motorcycle, like, that guy should have died. And just, I find it hard to believe the dad, and it's good to hear he wasn't. It was just, like, especially, I'll use this scene as an example, this is a bit extreme, but, like, where the dad was basically, like, just trying to be, you know, hard on his sons and all that kind of stuff, trying to, like, teach him to be tough and everything, which I don't, as far as parenting goes, personally, that's one thing that didn't click with me, which I don't know why that would make me not like this movie as much, but it just did. But especially at the very end, where the brother got the call from the guy who lost his, like, foot, and he was talking about how he was going to kill himself, and he calls his dad, be like, hey, we need to look out for this guy, and the dad responds with, well, it sounds like it's between you two, and it's like, well, no, it doesn't sound like it's between the brothers. It sounds like the brother's about to kill himself, and, you know, need to come together as a family and watch out for him. And, of course, that ultimately ends up backfiring on everybody, and the brother just fucking kills himself because, I don't know, there's a lot of, like, emotion, and maybe I'm getting too emotionally into this movie, and I'm letting my emotions sway my ranking, but, I mean, I guess I didn't rate it super low, but, like, that's kind of like my negatives, where it's just, I had a lot of personal, emotional, moral disagreements with scenes in this movie, but like I said, my biggest negative was probably just how slowly paced the movie was.
Yeah, I disagree with you quite a bit on your take on the father personally, and I don't know if this is controversial or not. I found the father a really compelling and interesting character to think about. Even though he is ostensibly the antagonist, you do understand, like, why he's doing the things he's doing and what caused him to be that way. And like the way I thought of like describing what he's doing is that like he thinks he's living in a much crueler world than the one that actually exists for him, and he's preparing his sons for that world. But since that's not what the reality is, it does just end up being him being needlessly cruel when that's not necessary for what the world is at that time.
They talk about the family having a curse, but little did they know the curse was their father.
That's kind of what I was thinking.
That's fucking stupid. I hate
That seems to be the pretty express implication.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure if you were being serious or not. That's definitely something I ran through my head. I was like, what if the curse was... Like, what if the curse is self-imposed and the dad is, like, emanating this? We're like, it's us against the world, but also he's, like, the root. And that was, like, one of the ideas I got, too, is, like, what if the father is the root of the problems and he's creating these fake scenarios to say that the world's against us, but really... It's like a I think I actually ended up saying this to somebody. I don't remember who it was. It's a self-fulfilling negative cycle where the dad is the problem, but thus him creating the problem causes his sons to find solutions. And then when those ultimately fail, he becomes the problem yet again, and it just keeps cycling through over and over and over again. So I thought that was I don't know if that was the movie's intention, but that's kind of what I got from it. So if that's something it did, that's very interesting. Awesome. I'm glad I picked that up.
Now, Jackson, you haven't said a whole lot thus far. How'd you feel about the movie?
Yeah, I don't know if I said anything so far. Yeah, I mean, I gave it an A-, so I thought it was pretty solid. I think the acting is probably the strongest suit for this movie. I think all of them do a very good job, though that comes with the asterisk that I agree with Nico. The brothers all do seem very miscast. Like, come on, let's not fucking... play around here. Zac Efron's like almost 40. But yeah. I still think he does a great job in his role. I don't really know a ton about Zac Efron, but I think he does a really solid role. I think he made a very good lead, and I would be excited to see more movies from him. I think he's got pretty good range.
We'll have a great trilogy for us to watch at some point.
That's what I was about to say.
I don't want to watch those ones. I want to watch him when he's good. But
I don't know if he's in other movies.
But I think this is an A24 film, so I think the cinematography is very well done for the most part too. A lot of really cool shots. I like when he's going back and forth, like slamming itself against the wall, just in his frustration. I think the reveal of one of the brothers losing his foot was really cool. There's a lot of just interesting shots like that. One of my favorite characters from the movie was just the main Elric's brother's wife. She was fucking awesome. I expected her to be kind of like a leech kind of character, but no, she's just the goat. She's just fucking kind of awesome. And that subverted my expectations. I think the ending and messaging is really good too. I really like how he works around his family. I think the conclusion to like the dad and his arc is good too. I think it's a solid movie. I'm not like crazy about it or anything, as I gave it an A-, but I don't have any like major like glaring flaws or anything too. I wasn't like super emotionally invested. I would say the pacing definitely felt a little quick near the end. It's like the first half of the movie was kind of whatever to me, and then it got really fast when everyone
it's just tragedy after tragedy. You don't have a lot of time to breathe, but it was that also kind of like adds to the characters themselves, like not really being able to cope with like all this stuff that's happening and causing them to spiral further, just creating more horrific deeds. It works to its benefit, because I definitely felt the most emotion during those moments, and I was much more engaged with that than I was in the first half of the film. But also, like, it is very fast, and it's certainly, I can't just like look past that. But it's not a big thing. I'd like to watch this movie again at some point, though. I definitely liked it a lot. I think it's very solid. And like even a character like the mom, who she doesn't do a lot in this film, and that's kind of like her character's whole deal. She doesn't do a lot. But even she had a pretty solid standout scene where it was, I think, the second brother's funeral, and she was just like in the bedroom. She's like, I can't wear this dress. They'll all know that this is the same one I wore at my previous son's funeral. And it's like, that shit's just heart-wrenching.
I just remembered what I was gonna say. So this is in regards to A24 films. At this point, I think No, at this point, I think it's fair to say we just randomly happened to see, like, the 2 or 3 I didn't like in a row right up front, because I've pretty consistently liked them after those ones, so...
I mean, they make good movies, let's not fucking front. They certainly have a style, but they make good movies, and they give a lot of directors good opportunities too, and backing for some interesting projects. Like The Iron Claw, this is a very... I don't know if I'd say out there movie for this kind of era, but I don't know. I don't expect this type of movie to get made nowadays.
Well, fantastic, guys. If we have no further thoughts on the Iron Claw, then it sounds like we got that review in the bag. Are we still sitting our same rankings? A- for me?
Yeah, I'm sticking at my A- as well.
I think I'm sticking with the B+.
Yeah, I'm gonna stick with my S.
And it lands at a solid A overall.
There we go. Happy Pride, Tanner. That one was for you.
Oh, yeah.
Holy smoke.